Good evening. Live from the Internet Champagne Room, it is the Proteus Podcast 2016 coverage of the Olympics.
Woo!
Yay! My name is Jacob, and sitting with me is Danielle. We will be covering the Internet Podcast Olympics today on August 16th, 2016.
Wow, Jake, that's pretty epic.
We try. It's one of the many annoying services that I offer.
Referring to yourself in the multiple? In the plural?
What did I say? One of the many annoying services that I offer?
No, you said we offer.
Well, I meant to say I. Me or one of my personalities offers this service.
See, so, yeah, the plural.
The plural, me, we.
Before we start diving into the Olympics, as is my custom, how are you doing?
I am doing mostly okay.
Mostly okay?
Yeah, mostly okay.
Anything particular?
Nothing to talk about here.
Nothing to talk about here. I cannot tell you because there may be law enforcement listening in on the other side.
To all the law enforcement listening in, I didn't do anything. It wasn't me. It was definitely
except for what he did.
Listen, try not to implement me.
Incriminate. Don't incriminate me.
Implicate.
God.
That was the word I was implementing.
Implicate.
Try not to implement me like I'm a tractor.
Hey, so I need to use you over here, Jake. I just need you to press a button. I need to implement you.
I need to
So
implement the button pushing. Push this button and don't stop until I come back.
like the button pressing Olympics.
Ugh, the Olympics. Speaking of the Olympics, that's a thing that I think is still going on.
Oh yeah, it's the final week.
Oh, it lasts multiple weeks. We've narrowed that down.
Yeah, the last day is this coming Sunday.
Sunday.
Yeah, it ends with the marathon, I think, is the last event, the men's marathon.
Oh, did you see that wonderfully hilarious thing regarding the marathon runner?
The women's or the men's?
The men's. Well, there's a men's marathon runner that now I forget what country he's from. I want to say France.
Uh-huh.
That accidentally qualified for the Olympics. And didn't know he was one of the Olympic athletes until he happened to check the Olympic athlete roster for his country and saw his name.
Huh. How does one accidentally qualify for the Olympics?
Well, evidently he ran in one of the qualifying marathons for the Olympics. And through some fluke of like a collection of things, even though he didn't place in the place that normally becomes the qualifier for the Olympics, a bunch of odd little just technicalities happened, and it resulted in him being one of the qualifying people in that race.
Huh.
Yeah. But he had no idea because the position he'd gotten wasn't normally a qualifying position, but like some people dropped out and someone else's time was invalidated or something, and he became qualified for the Olympics.
So was he like ever trying to be in the Olympics?
No, as far as I understand.
So it's like, no. You know what, gang? I feel really good about myself. I want to show everyone how good I am. So I'm just going to participate in this one marathon.
No, he was he runs marathons, and so he's interested in it, and but he didn't expect in any way to qualify for the Olympics. He just one of those people that likes to go run marathons, and in doing so, accidentally, because he didn't mean to, became one of the Olympic runners for his country.
So I guess I'm going to Rio, guys, because I didn't win a marathon.
Because I accidentally placed too high in a marathon or something of that nature.
Yay?
Yeah, it's got to be a weird feeling. I guess I have to go to the Olympics.
Do you think that's followed up by a thought of, but God, I don't want to run a marathon in Rio?
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of weird feelings that go along with accidentally entering the Olympics.
I mean, I hear that Olympians there get mugged.
That's what I'm hearing. It's not a safe place to be.
No, not safe at all. It was the swimmer lock day. Locked?
Yeah.
I always thought it was locked, but some announcers say lock day. a U.S. swimmer and a couple other swimmers who don't win medals, so they're evidently not important.
Evidently. Yeah.
Evidently, got mugged. Did you hear this story?
Armed gun robbed at gunpoint by people posing as police.
Yeah. In his interview, he was like, "Yeah, so I could tell that they were fake police, and they wanted us to get out of the car and to get down on the ground." I was like, "Man, you're fake police. I'm not gonna do anything for you." And then they cocked the gun and put it in his face. He was like, "Okay, I'm getting on the ground."
Yeah. And not just that, though. Other people, like a photographer, lost $40,000 worth of camera gear
Yeah,
when
yeah.
he was robbed. That's like insane.
It's like I
One,
understand.
I've never even seen that much camera gear on one person, and two, ow, this is an investment there. It's gone.
So
A car
there
worth of
seems,
photography equipment.
yeah, it seems like there's, or maybe just a pouch. Like some of those cameras are like the Introspector 4020, one of
Sure.
those far zoom cameras, for instance.
Right.
They get pricey.
Yeah. I mean, and really, it's the lenses, from what I understand. You can
Yeah.
spend all the money on lenses for cameras.
Once you have a good base, all you really need is to just improve upon it with lenses. Now I can photo something in any setting.
Yeah.
Look, this is me taking a photo of me getting robbed. Unfortunately, you won't see it because they stole the camera with it as well. But I had a lens.
Some of those, have Wi-Fi and link to your phone and upload as you take them. It's getting real fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My
I've got
camera
list
has
here
a Wi-Fi that
that I
uploads
found
to my phone.
of all the bad things that have happened during the Olympics. And there's the Australian rowing coaches were robbed at knife point,
Yeah.
and what else here?
What else? You have a list?
I have a list. The Australian athletes have been banned by their own officials from going to the beaches after dark because,
Yeah.
they're just
Because they're
worried things are going to
dangerous.
happen to their people.
Mm-hmm. No, it's perfectly legit. There's multiple instances of not just Olympians, but like people that traveled across the world to see their athletes perform, getting mugged and losing their passports, and
Yeah.
like, God help you if you happen to be one of those countries that doesn't have a consulate set up in Rio.
Yeah, it's not going to be good.
I mean, well, what do you do? Do you go to the Olympic coach for your country team of the sport you like most? Is like, please help me.
Yeah.
There's no consulate here. I got mugged.
Yeah,
Can you bring me back in a duffel bag?
sneak me back into my country in a duffel bag? It's not a good way to travel. Not
No,
much leg room in a duffel bag.
it makes you. I think I get that the Olympics should expand to different countries, and I understand that, and in a lot of ideological ways, I agree that any country should be a valid
Olympic venue.
applicant. No, I would say valid applicant.
Right.
But I think that there's just what is it? The IOC.
Yeah.
I think that the IOC is a bit corrupt
Yeah.
because I don't think Rio. I mean, we've been riffing on people getting mugged and gun points at their heads and knife and can't even go to the beach. Like the crime part, but even the health part is just a huge concern.
Yeah, because I did some reading on that today, and they were worried about being able to treat all the sewage in Rio, and this is insane because they wanted to reduce the amount of sewage flowing into the bay by 17 million gallons by the end of 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And we're shooting for having 65% of their sewage being treated by the time the Olympics started.
65%, which tells you they're not
Almost.
treating any of it.
It started at 17%, evidently.
Ugh.
It's just, and 17 million gallons of raw untreated sewage leaking into the ocean there. and they're going to do parasailing and stuff.
And don't even. And what about the river, right? The river that's so contaminated. They're like, hey, if you do a couple teaspoons of this, you have a virus.
Yeah.
Which may or may not kill you.
It's like it was on the order of thousands of times more contaminated than what we deem
as safe in the U.S.
Well, they compared it to a California beach. 1.7 million times the level of what would be considered hazardous on a Southern California beach, is the quote.
And have you ever been on a Southern California beach?
No, I've been near a Southern California beach. The smell turned me away.
Yeah, exactly. So, if that's that bad,
1.7 million times worse. And those aren't usually considered hazardous. Amazingly, 1.7 million times worse than something worse than that is
and it's
beyond alarming.
And honestly, I feel like in these situations, I feel bad for the Olympic athletes.
Yeah, because
that have to perform in that, because it's like, what do you throw away 4 years of your life
of training, or 7 years of training,
and busting your butt, or accidentally getting placed in a marathon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's where are the... I want to know that conversation that the IOC had. Like, well, we could do it in a place like Luxembourg, not knowing whether or not they've ever wanted to have an Olympics in Luxembourg. Or we could do it in Rio. Well, Rio's nice. Yeah, it's really pretty. They have a lot of good pictures. Look at this water. What's that floating in the water? Oh, that would be a man-sized turd.
And a severed human leg.
Oh, that seems like the perfect place to have the Olympics.
Yeah, I'm not impressed with that. Not to mention there's all the concerns of the Zika virus, and people, a lot of very well-respected medical professionals said having the Olympics in Rio could be a global catastrophe because of spreading the Zika virus, which is freakish.
Well, have you ever played the game Plague Incorporated?
No.
So there's an event. So what?
I did watch the movie Contagion.
So in
don't
Plague
shake hands
Inc.,
and don't touch your face.
Yeah, in Plague Inc., you are a virus or a bacteria. You're some kind of bad disease.
We'll just go with something bad.
And you grow and you expand out and you become communicable, and you're trying to infect and kill everyone in the world.
Seems like a really morbid game. Tell me more.
Oh, it's fun. It's actually a lot of fun. But the people behind it are evidently like these really smart, like scientists, doctor-like people who are like, yeah, we basically built a model for how disease spread, and then we added factors to it. But one of the events in it is the London 2012 Olympics.
Huh.
And so one of the goals in the game is to get your virus and to England before the Olympics happen, and then when the Olympics conclude in the game, you just watch the disease explode everywhere.
Yeah. Remember in WoW, there was the event with the Zul'Gurub virus.
Oh yeah, the exploding dog trick.
The exploding dog trick that resulted in the Zul'Gurub pandemic within World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Which apparently was studied a little bit by people that study pandemics, because it was a large enough imaginary population that behaved like actual human beings that it became statistically significant.
Yeah. So now we get to wait for the Olympics to end to see if everyone and their dog has Zika.
See if anything really, really bad happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because a bunch of athletes withdrew from the Olympics because of it.
It's true.
And
Unless you're...
weirdly enough, and this actually, it took me a minute to figure out why this made sense, but this finally makes sense, is the majority of the athletes that withdrew are the Olympic golfers, which I didn't know was a thing until this.
Oh, it's first time.
But I can see why they, of all the Olympians, would pull out, because their event requires them to be outside for 18 holes of golf and water hazards.
Multiple days, because they do it many times.
Most potential exposure to mosquitoes of anybody, because you're outside, you're in a place that has standing water because of water hazards. Yeah.
Yeah. But
whereas a huge number of the other events either take place inside or much shorter duration, because it takes quite a while to play a full round of golf.
That's true, but also a lot of the majority of the venues for the Rio Olympics are open air, which is an interesting thing. There's also, as far as the Olympic golfers go, it's basically all the golfers, all the professional golfers were invited to
be Olympic golfers.
And a lot of people were like, evidently a lot of the bigger names were like, why would I compete in a golfing event that I can't win money?
Right.
Like, there was a lot of financial...
Not a financial incentive, and so you need to turn it into a charity golf event to make them come.
Right.
Because they'll golf so someone gets money, either them or someone that they can, look good supporting. Mm-hmm. But just golfing for a medal, they don't see much use in it.
Yeah, they were talking about how golf is guaranteed to be in the Tokyo Olympics in 4 years. But depending on if they don't get more people, like some of the bigger names, to really join in and participate, it may not be in the Olympics after 2024. Yeah, some interesting big name politics going on, I guess.
Wait, so how often is the Olympics?
Summer 4 years.
4 years.
But it's offset every it's offset by the Winter Olympics, which also happens every 4 years, but they're 2 years apart.
Because I'm trying to figure out how we had a 2012 Olympics in London, and then
this is the 2016.
This is the but we didn't have a London Olympics in 12. It was China.
No, we did have the London Olympics in 2012.
So when was China?
It gave us the world's largest McDonald's.
Okay. I'm derping. What year was the Olympics in China then?
I have no idea.
Fine. I'm gonna Google it.
But the Winter Olympics just happened 2 years ago, and that was in Sochi, Russia.
Yeah.
And that was a whole different level of...
I guess that was the 2008 Olympics. Man, I totally didn't pay attention to the 2012 Olympics.
2012 Olympics were pretty cool.
I guess. Now I kind of vaguely remember the Queen-looking stern.
Yeah, the Queen-looking stern. With a Malkavian kind of smile to herself.
I get the feeling that lady knows stuff that would terrify everyone else.
Like what?
I don't know.
Like she's seen Margaret Thatcher naked?
Probably.
I mean, that would be pretty terrifying to most people.
Probably. The point is like, she's got that look on her face, like she's like, yeah, y'all think you know what's going on. I'm the Queen of England.
I'm the Queen of England. I know what's really going on.
Yeah.
So this year, there were a good number of athletes banned or disqualified for performance-enhancing drugs.
Performance-enhancing drugs.
Yeah. At one point, this was the entirety of all of Russia.
Yeah. And then, one lady got to compete independently as Russia herself or something.
Nah, what happened is I think it was just 1 month or 2 months before the Olympics, they perma-banned 2/3. I may be getting these reversed. No, 1/3 of all the Russian athletes, 172 Russian athletes were banned from the Olympics.
Wow, that's
for state-endorsed
doping
and aided doping.
Yeah, that's not a good way to look.
Oh yeah. Russia was using the KGB or whatever type of secret spy organization they have now to break into clinics to alter or exchange blood and urine samples of their athletes so they wouldn't get busted for doping.
Well, the whole moral of that story was it was really funny when the one Russian athlete that was accused of doping and may or may not have been lost their event by a fair bit.
Yeah, the swimmer. Are you referring to the swimmer?
The swimmer, and then of course the winning swimmer got in trouble for possibly mocking the one that lost.
Oh yeah, you could hear her on the camera. She was like muttering under her breath. As American was muttering under her breath that I was like, "Oh, you're just a cheater," and a good number of things like that. Not a good sportsmanship in the air.
Not a good moment for us.
Russia, well, and not for Russia either. They've been kind of taking a beating.
Yeah.
which honestly, if you're gonna cheat, does it really work out for you?
Hardly ever.
Hardly ever. So there's that. There was the gymnast who has a history of substance abuse, who was caught drinking. I think he's from, it's like some Western Europe. Anyway, he was caught drinking, and so his team expelled him from the Olympics.
Wow, his team did.
Yeah, his team.
I didn't hear about that.
They were like, "You're drunk," and he was like, "Yes, I'm drunk." And they were like, "Okay, you're getting on a plane and you're going home."
Huh.
And he had qualified to go into like the quarterfinals.
Huh. That's
Yeah.
pretty impressive.
Yeah. It's like don't screw around, man. You're there to support your team. You're there to compete for your country. Don't break the rules. Right?
Yeah, I mean, you're there to look good for your country. Don't be a screw up.
So I'm guessing that you haven't watched much of the Olympics at all.
Practically none. I saw a little bit of the swimming events the other day while I was somewhere that had a television on.
Mm-hmm. Is there any particular Summer Olympic event that you do enjoy?
Weirdly enough, I've always kind of got a kick out of watching like the shot put and javelin, and the
the track and field events.
Some of the track and field events. Not all of them are interesting me. The actual just foot races.
What about the 100-meter? You know, the land of Usain Bolt.
The Usain Bolt races are fun to watch because it's fun to watch him just freakishly tear past everything. I think it was I can't remember the first time he ran.
It was 12 years ago.
12 years ago? What?
Three Olympics ago.
3 Olympics ago. Olympics I? What's the plural of Olympics?
Olympic guy.
Olympi?
Olympi?
Anyways.
Is Olympics
the
the
first
plural of
time
Olympics?
I saw him run in his race, at that particular Olympics, they had this fancy camera set up on a track that could speed along next to them so they could get this really good, static camera view of the runners.
Mm-hmm.
And he passed it. Like he ran out of frame. It didn't keep up with him. It kept up with everyone else, but he was just and off the side of the thing he went. You're just, oh, that man is very fast.
That man is extremely fast.
And then they showed the wide shot of him outrunning the camera. You're just, that man is very fast.
Yeah, I remember when that happened.
That was just the greatest moment in human running I had ever seen. And I think it probably will stand because just no one expected anyone to ever be that fast. The people that built that track were like, okay, people can run about this fast. We'll make a camera that goes that fast. It should be about right. And it didn't work for that guy.
It was like, pew, pew.
Yeah, it was... And not only did he pass it, he pulled away from it at a startling pace. You're just like...
Yeah, he was
unbelievable.
He was making a point that from this point forward, as long as he chooses to compete, he is not going to lose.
Having the last name Bolt really applies.
Yeah, it's like, really applies.
I am supposed to be fast. My last name is Bolt.
So I was reading a thing that evidently the only major competition that he has lost since winning that first gold, he lost because he jumped the start and was disqualified.
Yeah. Which has got to be an easy thing. You would expect to be an easy thing to do for him because he's just so fast, you know.
Yeah, but he evidently has a lot of like what would be considered bad starts.
Huh.
Like they were talking that
Which he
his starts
compensates
are
for
not
by having
good.
an overwhelming amount of speed.
Yeah, speed and lankiness.
Yeah.
So like the fast American that has been the closest to defeating him. His name is a Gatling, who first competed I think in the 2000 Olympics and came in silver I think in the 100-meter this year. I think the average stride for the 100-meter dash for a guy is 44 to 45 strides in 100 meters.
Okay.
Usain Bolt does it in 41 to 42.
Wow. That's insane. That's incredible.
That's like 4 whole strides less than everyone else. And when you watch him, you see that because he just, not only is he going incredibly fast, but he stretches out beyond just what about anyone else. And that's why he has that big shit-eating grin on his face.
Yeah, there's that picture from this Olympics where he's way out in front of everyone and just smiling at the camera.
Yeah, because he does this thing where he glances left, he glances right, he looks at the camera and smiles as he comes across the finish line.
Because he's so far ahead of everyone.
Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, I got this.
Someone showed me a great video, apparently, and I don't know if it was this Olympics or another, because they weren't specific and the video didn't say. But a swimming team is protesting something in it's a high diving team, and they're protesting something that's going on in their country, and so they get up on the high dive and run out to the end of it and do their flips and double flips and back flips and a perfect belly flop. And then they swim to the edge of the pool and they get out and they high five the rest of their teammates and they're smiling and just so happy. And they all do this in protest of something important in their country that no one has made clear to me what is. But I thought that was absolutely fantastic.
I need to know more about this.
It's we're going to be Googling.
So This brings me to my last real issue with the Olympics. Okay. And that has to do with NBC is a terrible company and a terrible caretaker of relaying the Olympics to us.
Oh, I've heard some complaints.
I'll give you the high end, and I'll probably continue this rant next week. High end. One, they're doing that delayed showing again, like they did last time for the London Olympics, except they've made it worse. Depending on the market, they're showing it at different times. For instance, my friend in Minnesota, the Olympics coverage starts for her at 6:00 in the evening.
Right.
For here in Seattle, it doesn't start till 8. And they don't show like any of the interesting stuff until like 10 or 11.
That's awful.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like, God, I have work in the morning. They've editorialized a lot of it. So like the women's beach volleyball, the U.S. women's team is really good. And they're really amazing. And one person on it is set to make Olympic history. They're like cutting minutes from it, like minutes out of the sets, so they can have time for more commercials. There's a U.S. women's shooter in the skeet, either skeet or trap, that is about to win her like 9th medal, and they haven't given any airtime to her. It's just so commercialized, and they're just like ruining it. And their whole reason for doing, or their first reason for like their format this year is that they said the majority of people that watch the Olympics in America are women. And women care more about the journey than the overall competition. Like the journey of the Olympics. And to which everyone's like, what the fuck? No.
The whole point of the Olympics is the stuff.
Right.
All right. So
So anyway, go ahead.
To briefly interrupt, I've found the information on this video, and it's been misrepresented about the internet, as usual. And it's not from any of the Olympics, but from the Southeast Asian Games, and it may have been a while back, like last year. But it's still a highly entertaining video. It was Filipino divers, and it's not made entirely clear if they really were protesting something or if it was they just both absolutely botched their dives, which seems unlikely, but
okay,
it's still an entertaining video.
Noted.
So search in Filipino diver protest, and you'll probably find it because, like I said, it appears to be being misrepresented about the internet, like things are.
So, as we wrap up our Olympic discussion today, Mr. Jake, on the Olympic ring scale of 1 ring being incomplete and 7 rings being full, utter jadedness of Olympic proportions, how many rings of jaded are you?
4.
4?
4 jaded rings.
4 jaded rings. I'm going to have to go with 3 jaded rings.
Oh, congratulations. You're below the fulcrum of suctitude.
We should really look that up.
We really should look that up. Did you see the highly amusing to me redesigned Rio Olympics Olympic ring logo that incorporated the biohazard logo?
Oh, no, but I bet it's funny.
It's funny. It's running around the internet. You'll probably see it.
Do you have a quote?
I have a quote. It is from Matthew Wren. Ability is a poor man's wealth.
Okay.
I just like that quote because it's very true. If you can do something, it can take you a long ways.
I agree, and very apt with the Olympic discussion that we had today. Which, by the way, my favorite is still the marathon runner who didn't realize that he was going to be in the Olympics.
Yeah, I think that's great. It was the best news about the Olympics I've heard throughout the whole thing.
For me, this quote is from Pierre de Coubertin. The most important thing in the Olympic Games is not winning, but taking part. The essential thing in life is not conquering, but fighting well. That
is good.
Yeah.
And one last thing, a bunch of comedians have brought this up over the years. I still think, and I agree with all these comedians, that just to make it clear to us how very talented these athletes are, they need to put one Joe Smo off the street in every Olympic event.
Oh man, that would be so sad.
It would be, but it would give us all a really great sense of, exactly just how truly incredible these athletes are, because it's the best of the best competing against the best of the best. And if they're competing against me, they're going to look even more incredible.
It's true. It's like that guy would need, like, whomever that person is, that guy or girl would need all kinds of love and like support from the crowd.
Yeah, they get to be Olympic royalty. They're the also ran in the Olympics.
Yeah, it's like, thank you for your point of comparison, Mr.
I think
Mr. Guy.
we should implement that and then treat it like an honor. You get a bunch of special things if you do this.
Yeah.
It'd be great. It'd be like putting a Volkswagen Rabbit out on the track with the Indy 500.
That wouldn't work because the rabbit would break down before it started.
Probably, but the comparison would be apt.
Oh, good times.
Good times.
So, if you enjoyed hearing what you heard today, please follow us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play. Watch us on the YouTubes. See us comment By comment, I mean list the link to our podcast on the Twitters.
All these things and more, Proteus Podcast.
Woo!
With that, I've been Jacob.
And I'm still Danielle.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Good night.